Looks like we're live.
Okay, here we go. We should be up now.
Okay, perfect. So thank you, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining the Safety and Technology Committee meeting. We're going to go ahead and get started. We're only about 6 minutes behind, so we're doing pretty good. We're going to do our best to keep the meeting succinct. I know there was a lot of material we covered during our last meeting. Um, it was a long time since we had met previously, so there was a lot to cover. There's still a lot to cover, so we're going to go on and do some updates, uh, talk about a few other things, a few topics, and then hopefully get everyone out at a reasonable hour tonight. So thank you all, first of all, for making time and joining us. And that said, we're going to go ahead and start with the approval of the last meeting minutes. Let me go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see the last set of meeting minutes. It's this one, share. Okay. And with a little luck, you guys are now seeing the committee meeting minutes from December 10th.
Yes.
Excellent.
That's the one. Yes.
So we'll go ahead and I will review these minutes and give a high level summary of some of the talking points. We went ahead and already reviewed this during our last board meeting, but just to make sure that all of us are on the same page, we'll do the same thing right now for this committee meeting in case anyone didn't see that meeting. So our last Technology and Security Committee meeting was on December 10th from approximately 5:30 to 7. We called the meeting to order at 5:35. In attendance was myself, David Warner, Antoinette Darden Cintron, Carlos Ramirez, Laser Alert. Neil, help me out with your last name. I always screw this one up.
Ragu DL.
Rago Dial, thank you.
Yep.
I'll remember that for next time. Christina Frisco, Dean Parker, and Diego Rondon. The agenda was fairly straightforward since it was our first real meeting in a while. We selected the committee chair. I ended up with that honor. We selected a recording secretary. Thankfully, Diego volunteered for that. Then Mr. Ramirez gave a status of technology at GCSD report. Covered a lot of things in funding, devices that needed repair over the summer, how those devices were being repaired, the types of repairs that were needed by those devices, as well as provided us data such as a breakdown of what the different categories of those broken devices are. Mr. Ramirez also told us that there was an order for 150 new devices that was placed, that had been placed fairly long time ago. Unfortunately, obviously, since we're in COVID world, we are not the only school district vying for these same devices. So, most school districts, such as ourselves, are still waiting for a lot of these devices to show up. Thankfully, we were a bit ahead of the curve and we already had a one-to-one deployment and we already had a significant number of devices deployed. So that put us way ahead of the curve. But, there's a few devices, obviously, that are still being awaited, and Mr. Ramirez will touch on that tonight. We talked about potentially coming up with a policy to support beyond accidental damage to a device. So as we know, some devices, they can get damaged, especially if we don't take care of them. Keyboards, keys can go flying out, screens can get broken. So all those types of things, there was a request that we evaluate potentially coming up with a policy to enforce, what criteria and what actions will we take if there is a damage to a device that is way beyond accidental, right? So we talked about that a little bit. We didn't formalize anything as of yet. We also had a conversation on closing the digital divide and changes that have been done to our school infrastructure to support that. There was also an update on the district-wide distribution of devices. Let's scroll on along. We also got a little bit of a primer on how our tech support team has been basically, facilitating the ability for our school district to move forward remotely online, and various different ways in which they have made themselves available and been very flexible to support not only our children, but also students, parents, and teachers, just to make this all work. Mr. Warner asked about Wi-Fi access at home and how that was happening for individuals that may not have their own Wi-Fi. And we had a brief description on LTE Chromebooks that were being deployed to those students that were in need. Obviously, there is a process that has to be followed in order to ensure that there is a need, and that's the right solution. In some cases, if it's multiple children in the same house, it'll be a hotspot instead of an LTE Chromebook. We followed up as well on there was a question on reporting and troubleshooting of devices and how that was occurring. We had a good discussion on that. That relates to what I mentioned earlier about the policy on the damaged devices, and more to come on that. Ms. Darden Cintron asked for tools to gauge levels of success with remote learning. Mr. Ramirez touched bases on surveys that can be sent to teachers, the iReady assessments that have been underway to try to gauge, our student progress, since we no longer at this current moment have state tests to use, since the state tests have been, since the state tests have essentially not been given for the at least last time around, and definitely it looks like we're heading that way this time around as well. So at least we'll have the iReady as a measure so we can measure our student performance. And then there was also a touch base on professional development and how that's happening on Fridays via Google Meet. Ms. Darden Cintron also asked about what kind of tools are being used to help assist with the pandemic drain, right? So our students are in many cases 100% remote. And when we're not 100% remote, we have the hybrid cohorts. So there's 1 week where the students, are remote, and the other week they're in the buildings. And obviously there's a little bit of a shift in the way that they're learning. And it's very easy to have a little bit of a lack of acceleration, right? A deceleration in their learning because of the differences in the way that it's being given. And, it's different. It's different for all of us, right? So that said, we got a little bit of a brief summary from Mr. Rundon on all the tools that were being used, how they're being used, and how Google has thankfully evolved in a very short time period to improve the platforms our students use. We also talked about the process to evaluate new resources that when teachers, for example, come up with the program that they find or an application, what the process is to evaluate that and determine if that makes sense for our district. We covered the one-to-one Chrome devices replacement plan. There was a question by Mr. Warner about the budget, and Mr. Ramirez gave us a status on that, as well as how last year we had to make an adjustment to our funding due to budgets, and that we anticipate needing to add more devices as well as add a secondary connectivity link via the Lee F. Jackson School building. And then I had requested if there was a possibility for more training for students, teachers, and parents, et cetera, since we are remote. There was also an update to the 2018 to 2021 Instructional Technology Plan and the preparation for the next cycle. Mr. Ramirez and Mr. Rundon provided that. As of now, the goal is to update the tech plan by June 2021 and the technology plan by June 2022. Those are the deadlines. And then we talked a little bit more about closing the digital divide, network and cloud-based services, Office 365 for business users, options like that. Some applications that had been brought to us by our community like Nearpod and PureDeck, and evaluation of those tools. But obviously those tools overlap with a lot of the tools we have, and they're not cheap. So it's kind of trying to find the happy medium of which tool applies best. And then we had a brief safety and security report given to us by Mr. Parker. He provided an update basically on how the COVID-19 protocol is being followed at the middle high school, including social distancing and the cafeteria tables that used to house, 6 to 8 children, randomly, however they wanted to, now essentially house 2 children with a plastic divider in the middle to allow for social distancing and appropriate safety protocols. He also had covered the fact that our staircases are now directional. So one staircase goes up, one staircase goes down, and that just helps to assist in the traffic flow to minimize exposure. I had requested that in the future, if we can get reports on how the other schools are implementing the same similar COVID-19 protocols, just so that the community can have a unified view of how things are occurring. Mr. Warner requested in a future meeting if we can have some more information to be reported. Ms. Darden Cintron asked that we send reminders of tech equipment before the holiday break, such as how do you care for your devices, examples of things that can go wrong, so that we can make sure that we minimize damage to the equipment. And then we adjourn the meeting at 7 p.m. The remainder of what's on this agenda is a lot of what we're going to discuss tonight, but that's essentially the summary of our last technology committee meeting. Does anybody have any comments or recollect anything differently?
Hey, Ashley, real quick, I would say my only comment is I know a lot of other committees and organizations. I would just, if you share the emails, not the emails, good Lord, if you share the agenda or the minutes with all the members prior to, just ask us if we have any corrections. I do have one correction with my last name, take the E out the end, but other than that, oh, and take the R out of Mrs. Other than that, I would say do that in advance, so this way you don't have to take so much time. People might have changes or ask if they have any questions, sort of like we do at the board meeting, and we can move forward.
Excellent, thank you.
That's my thought.
So we're going to take the R out. And you said there was an E in there. Fix that. All right, we'll find the E and then we'll fix that. Here's the E. Here's the R. Okay, cool. All right, so we'll go ahead and adopt those committee meeting minutes, and then we can move on to today's agenda. Move this over here.
I move we adopt the minutes as amended.
You have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, so we'll do that. And we will now move on to today's agenda. Here we go. And so we've gone ahead and we've approved the minutes that we just.
Actually, can you remove the meeting ID and code at the top?
Yes. Hold
Please.
on 1 second.
Yep.
All right. Move. Save that. Okay. Now we'll share it again. All right. You guys can see my screen, right?
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we've gone ahead and provided the minutes from December 10th. We reviewed it, we approved it. So now on to our next agenda item, status of technology at GCSD report, and our CIO, Mr. Ramirez, will take it away.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And basically, we have a couple of updates in here, and the first one is regarding the CARES Act. The CARES Act was revised by the federal government and the state because, you know, when the first submission was done, it didn't include several items that the original CARES Act was approved for to attend to emergency expenditures during the pandemic. Now, with the assistance of our new interim assistant superintendent for business, we have updated this spreadsheet, the one that is in the link. If you allow me to present, I can show you, or you can just click, if you don't mind, Ashley, just click on the link.
You have to get permission, I think.
Yeah. Oh, you don't have permission? Okay, hold on.
Hold on.
I'm giving you permission.
I could just make you a presenter.
Yeah, you don't mind.
Okay.
Hey, Laser, I don't see the, I think you're the host, so I don't see the option to make him presenter.
I just enabled share screen, but I think you have to stop.
Okay.
Carlos, you should be able to see it now. There you go. Okay.
There you go. Mr. Ramirez, you're muted.
I'm sorry, this is the schedule that we work with the business office. I provide this schedule to Ms. Raymond, and she actually welcomed the information because now it's all organized in one table, and it provides for major expenditures that we had during the pandemic to support instruction. The first one, for example, is just to refer, these are 49 devices that we ordered LTE Chromebooks to attend to the demands of families that don't have devices or internet access at home. And we have been assigning these devices to the students. The priority is based on the need. So students that have a homeless status or the free lunch status, they receive these devices immediately as soon as they request. But they had to make the request through their principals and to the team at greenburghcsd.org email. That is the protocol. We also have Chromebooks that we purchased to attend the immediate needs of the students, in addition to the one that is still on hold and waiting on back order. We also purchased a number of Kajit mobile hotspots. These are Wi-Fi hotspots. So what happens is there are homes where we have more than one student attending remote learning. So instead of giving them 3 LTE Chromebooks, what we do is we do a hotspot and it serves as many devices as they have at home, and there is no limits in the capacity of the internet. It's unlimited internet service. We also work with Southwest Chester Bowes is providing with some of the search engine libraries, iReady, Castle Learning. These are traditional software that we have available for instructional technology. What we did is basically provide with additional training for the teachers and additional features that work in remote learning to empower them to work with the students that weren't physically in the school. There was also an investment on professional development. As you remember, we did professional development not only in-house, but we also offer it to the parents. Now, there's no cost for that because we use our staff from the school. We had to upgrade our licenses for Google to the enterprise level so we could actually enable Google Meets and all of these different features for security and the ability for the school staff to communicate via Google Apps for Education, Google Classroom. So this is a good summary, and all of this investment is going to be submitted to the state now in our CARES Act package, and we probably will get funded and return this money so we can reinvest. That's the update in terms of this. I'm gonna stop the share, go back here, and the next item on the agenda
So, question is that
yes,
are they completely reimbursing us, or are they giving us a partial?
we have to submit first to get an idea of what is going to be the rate of reimbursement. There's a good chance that we will get probably the largest because of our composition for free and reduced lunch is now at 70%. So
Okay.
we actually, part of this is as a consequence of the work that we've been doing with the data. So our data now is more consistent. We have good data reported to the state, and we have the ability to claim. So it goes through a process. But Ms. Raymond is very versed on this. Initially, as you remember, I reported at the last meeting that we weren't included in the CARES Act. And as soon as she took the job, the first thing that she does, she sends me an email and says, "Do you have any expenditure to submit?" I said, "I've been asking for it." And we put it together. It's now a package that is ready for submission to the state. In addition to that, we have some updates in terms of the status of the Chrome devices. I invite my assistant, Maria Abitable. She is the person in charge of redirecting all the requests through the help desk for tech support, devices, and everything. So she has a first-hand knowledge about what is happening with our order. And she's been actually on this every single day trying to get these devices in place. Maria, I want to turn to you. You can give a quick update.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So to start like kind of from the beginning, and so I ordered 150 Chromebooks at the end of August. And when I initially ordered them, we were told that we would probably get them in October, November. Then it went to December. Now it's March. So I've been trying to find out what was going on. And obviously, because of the national shortage, the problem is that the manufacturer is having a problem getting the parts to build the Chromebooks. That's where the big problem is. So the latest update from when we ordered the Chromebooks, there are 525 Chromebooks ahead of us. Once that's done, we're next. So the company that we're using, they know that, like, let's say if they get 50 in, they're going to send us 50. We're not waiting for all 150 to be shipped out because we're in this need. In the meantime, Neil and I have been working with a local company called Repair Expert. And a lot of the Chromebooks that were damaged aren't under warranty anymore. So they were kind of just there. So this gentleman is local. He comes to pick them up. He drops them off for free. And from what Neil and I have seen, he refurbishes these to pristine condition where we can then work on our wait list that grows every single day to at least try to get that down and get everybody with a device. Unfortunately, you know, him doing it, he has a good turnaround time, but it still takes time. So as they're coming back, we're doing distribution. So we're trying to stay on top of it. As you all know, you can't make everybody happy all at once, but we're trying, and it's not, the efforts are not fruitless. It's we're really just staying on top of it, and every day the list just grows, and we're just doing our best. But that's really where we stand right now. So the young lady at the company we use, CDW, she updates us every day. There's communication every day. So if something does happen, like I said, Neil and I have been working more on it as far as like getting the distribution and setting up a date, having the parents come and getting everything ready. So that's really where we stand right now. But, it's kind of out of our hands, but we're doing the best we can with what we got. But this gentleman that we have is just absolutely unbelievable. And his turnaround time, originally they wanted me to use a company, the district wanted me to use a company that was out in like Michigan. And I was kind of like, well, between the shipping, not even the cost of the shipping, but people haven't been getting their packages, the mail is all screwed up or whatever. And I was like, why not help somebody local? You're helping a local business, and his turnaround time, he picks up, drops off, you know what I mean? So it made better sense, and his pricing was better. It wound up being better anyway, but
very cost effective.
Right. So the whole thing is more cost effective to use somebody local rather than box everything up, ship it, fix it. Now we got to wait. Then it might get lost. You know what I mean? So it kind of made better sense to use this gentleman. And so far, I mean, unless I think Neil and I can agree that he's literally this guy, the turnaround time is, and the way he returns it, literally like as if nobody touched the Chromebook. It's incredible.
Like brand new. I'm really impressed by his work, but I've been sending him batches of 40. So just to make his life easier, I'm evaluating every single broken Chromebook that we get. I'm looking at and making note what's wrong with it, giving him a spreadsheet and letting him know this is what's wrong. This is what needs to be fixed. Can you fix it? He gives us the price, he fixes it and gives us back. And then I get it back. I double check that everything's okay. If it's okay, I give it back to the student. If it's not okay, he has I believe it's a 30-day warranty, Maria.
Yes.
30-day warranty. So I can let him know, and he'll take it, he'll fix it, and then he'll give it back. And that's basically the process.
So
in summary, this effort, thank you, Maria, and thank you, Neil.
you're welcome.
Sure.
In summary, the effort started way before, because we saw that the delay started after the order was placed. So I actually charged Maria and Neil to look at alternatives. And this is team effort. They found the best way to resolve this with a local provider for the repairs that turned out to be excellent. I got to tell you, many other districts are now trying to get that guy also to do the same work. I can give you a little more of the history on this. Initially, we had a service repair from BOSI's, and it was very cost efficient. I'm talking 4 years ago. However, through the times, they start increasing the cost. And at one point, it was about the cost of the actual device. So to repair a Chromebook that costs $269 or $245 and pay for a repair of $180, I buy a new one, right? So
If you could.
this was excellent, and I gotta tell you, I'm very happy with the solution. And it's the team effort. You know, everybody put their minds into this, and we always have in mind first to attend the needs of our children in the district and provide with a solution. We don't have the new devices that we order. Well, we gotta recycle the ones that we have and try to make it work, and it's working. Our waiting list is about 40 devices, if I'm correct, Neil.
Okay.
And we keep this batch of 40 being repaired, so we keep replenishing. So it continues on that cycle. Anything that you wanted to add? Yeah, or questions?
Nothing for me. I just want to say thank you to everyone for that teamwork and thinking outside of the box and making this happen. We greatly appreciate it.
That's the key. You know, listen to everybody in the team. We had to do that. So that's for the updates in terms of the technology. And the following item is the data privacy updates. I'm actually going to ask Neil Ragudio to provide the update. The update is very quick. We look at the mandatory training that we have to do per NYSCD requirements of data privacy at Law 2D. And we found a service that is part of BOSIS. It's called Infosec. And this will provide us with not only a campaign to actually test how much our people know about phishing, because remember, phishing is probably the first risk that you have in a network to get penetration. So, you know, if somebody sends an email and it pretends to be Ashley Pineda and I see Ashley sharing a document, I click on the link, that's it. But if I look at the domain of the email and I see that there are mistakes, there are grammar, spelling, there are several signs that will give you an idea that something is not right on the email. So I want to turn to Neil. He has a short, a more presentation on that. And what will be the update in terms of data privacy? Go ahead, Neil.
Right. So as we know, a school district is one of the largest targets for a phishing attempt, right? So we looked into a couple companies to really host a phishing simulation. One of them, like Carlos says, was Infosec. Infosec was one of the largest corporations that offer a complete package. And I want to use that word again, complete package. That being said, it involves creating templates, reporting, and trainings. So in regards to creating templates, we want to create a template that adjusts to the climate. So for example, our climate right now is COVID. So I would like to send a phishing email that has something to do with COVID and the vaccines and whatever it may be. As far as reporting, we need to know how many people clicked, and who responded with what information. And Infosec does that. The third thing was trainings, which is a huge part of this. And the trainings are tailored to their experience level. So for example, a new employee, a new hire is going to be categorized as a beginner. So they're going to get very basic trainings. That being is, what is a phishing email? You know, what is that? Why should I be afraid of this? And then the expert level is going to be really checking to see if the domain is valid and if that's fine. So this was a very intuitive platform, and it changes as the user understands and goes through each training. Each of these trainings are compliant with EdLaw 2D, and they meet the NIST cybersecurity framework as well. All of these trainings are all accessible, and we don't have to send a phishing simulation to train them. We can just send trainings out monthly and have them complete it, and we can monitor them to see if they completed it and how far did they get. Infosec really gave us this complete package, and this is why we are going with them, so to speak.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you.
Sure.
So the purpose of this is we did an evaluation on several solutions. Even we discussed with BOSIS what they saw as the best solution applicable to being in compliance with the EdLaw 2D. And Infosec provides for everything. Now, the advantage is we actually put them in connection with BOSIS, and now BOSIS is giving us a very discounted price, different from the regular commercial price, and the BOSIS 8. So it's a win-win for everybody. And we will implement this so we can be in compliance with Ed Law 2D. We're still waiting on, the security policies, the safety and privacy. I think they were submitted to the board for review by the superintendent. So I'm sure that you still have those in the queue.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's important that we get all of this because the compliance started back in October. That was the deadline by the state. Now we are doing every effort to do the implementation of this and follow on those requirements by the state. I want to jump a little bit in terms of the topic of security and go to the security cameras, which is the next item.
Mr. Mears, can I stop you right there just real quick?
Sure.
I did have a question on the Infosec product. So
Okay.
It sounds like it's a pretty well thought out product. My question was, from an implementation perspective, how often do we plan to send out, phishing type tests? Is it monthly? Is it quarterly? Do we not plan on doing that?
So the nature of this committee allows me to tell you that it's going to be very often. It's going to be frequent. We are talking about multiple during the quarter. On a trimester, every 3 months, we will do multiple attempts. We cannot release dates. We cannot release times because it defeats the purpose.
Correct.
However, Neil had a point on this. Every time that we do one and we evaluate the results, we identify those that are the people that need the training. We need to retrain as much as we can, and then we can actually prepare for that annual report to the board. Remember that it's mandated by the state that we had to provide you with the status of the safety and security of the data every year. So that includes this part of the training for the employees, for the staff. And it will include everybody. It will include the teachers, the secretaries, the students. If it's, we are gonna do it largely and cover everyone.
Thank you.
Mr. Mears, I want to add to that.
Yes, dear.
Just because this stuck in my head when they obviously were making the demo of it. They call it click rate. So when you do your first campaign, they evaluate you as an organization, and they come back with this click rate and kind of give you a formula or a prescription, if you will, based on your click rate that comes back as a result of your campaign. So I thought that was very powerful because it does go into that level of analyzing your overall click rate, which I think I'm very curious to see what our click rate is. They keep using the word over and over again. So I think that'll drive that portion of how often. One of the beauties is that it can be targeted. So if a particular group of people or department or and again, not to pick on people, but all based on the analytics that you get back, right? You'll be able to address those people, because you got to be careful too with training. If you have your overall population is okay with the concept and you realize that there's not an issue, there's awareness there. So you're not going to bombard them with training that's going to put them away from it, right? Yeah. Rather than focusing on the people that really need the help or understanding of what is happening. So I think that's the beautiful part of the product that allows you to analyze, not only just do the campaign, but analyze the results, what really happened, where the deficiencies are and who needs training and where that training needs to happen. So I think that's key as part of the product.
So it's what is called in the industry the scorecard. So they will run a scorecard and give you those metrics to ensure that you have, you're not only doing the plan, but you're identifying who needs that retraining, so the rest of the population is not affected. Sometimes training too much also can be, a pain. So the purpose of this is to do a focus. And thank you, Mr. Rendon, for that. Yeah, that is another advantage on the features that we found on Infosec.
So it sounds like a great product, and thank you for looking into it.
We can actually do a presentation on that at the next tech committee, because we are still working on the implementation. As soon as we complete implementation and do a first campaign, we can actually come back and say, hey, here's the data, here's what we found. We don't need to say specific names, but we can identify by groups, and say there was a number, a percentage of the teachers that did respond to this, and we are happy with the results, or we need to work on this. But that kind of report can be done by the next tech committee.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be very helpful. I will tell you from personal experience, we've run campaigns similar to this, and we have been surprised to see the progression from when we first started, and how our click rate was at that point was very high, and over time, some of these products are so sophisticated that they really do look like the real thing when you get one of these messages.
Mhm.
And it's very powerful. I will tell you, when someone receives one of these, believes it to be accurate, believes it is an email from FedEx or UPS or whatever it may be, clicks on it, and then the good part about it is it's safe, right? It's not actual malware, it's not actual phishing. So they're able to see a message that tells them, wow, well, you could have basically compromised us. And that's very powerful, and it does help a lot with the process. So thank you very much.
Sure.
Yeah, just one more thing. So I've seen a trial of what the template looks like, and as soon as they click the link within that phishing area, it'll bring them to a page and directly tell them what's wrong with that email, and it'll say very, very clearly at top, this is not a real scam. This is a test from Greenburgh Central School District. So we don't want to scare anybody, but we just want to make them aware. That's it.
Yes. Yes. So that is the plan in terms of the security in our network. And the first interest that we have is to train our people, create awareness, prepare them so they know that they need to look before just clicking. In terms of also part of this data privacy and security, there was, we review our practices in terms of access for staff, what we have internally, and that's something that I'm gonna leave for item 6, which is the termination of employments and the access to our information system. I will ask Christina Prisco to say something about that. But before we get there, Mr. Oler and I did an evaluation on the security cameras. As you probably know, and Antoinette knows this because you probably got some of the calls, there was a moment that we had a big problem with the cameras right before the holidays. They were down completely. So there was some sort of damage in our server, and we couldn't figure out what it was. And it was the licensing expiring. So we looked for alternatives to work on that, and we decided to hire a new service provider. The new service provider is ADT Security, which is based locally in Elmsford. I don't know if Laser wants to speak to this. The technical staff, the support staff came on premises, met with our network administrator, worked with him on basically the turn of the day, and they put everything back on. So when we see that quality of work, we really get impressed. So we actually engage now with them, and they are going to do our service for the entire district in terms of security cameras. I'm sure that we still have to do replacements. We still have to work on looking at what needs to be done for safety and security in preparation for the return to the regular norm in our in-school instruction. But I'm open to hear your feedback on that. David?
I seem to recall that there were some additional security cameras installed at Highview in the hallways over the holidays. Is that this effort?
Yeah, I don't know if we want to stop the live at the moment. Because
so
we're gonna get into.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, we
Yeah,
will.
so part of the so last year obviously it was just the technology committee, right? And this year it's a combined safety.
Yes.
Right, correct. So
Correct.
topics we
we need
waited.
to go into the private.
We have to go into closed session.
That's kind of closed session. So yeah, let's go ahead and pause the feed for a few minutes just to have this conversation on specifics, and then we can resume the feed.
I move we go into closed session.